Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will do the first verse of Panchadashi of chapter 1 for the invocation. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambujanmani Savila Samaha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmani. Okay, very good. So we are on chapter 2 of Panchadashi. Now, chapter 2 is Mahabhuta Viveka. Mahabhuta means these great elements, Viveka, differentiation of these 5 great elements. What do you mean differentiation? Means we're differentiating them from the self. But in that process, we also differentiate each element from the other. So how this chapter opens is first it talks about the main topic here. So although Swami Vidyaranyaji goes into a lot of details in the first few verses, the main topic, remember, is Sat Advaita. Sat Advaita. And that's the first word in the first verse of chapter 2. Means this existence, this pure existence, non-dual existence. This is the topic. And this is from the Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter. Now, so he says, this is what we're going to expound on, that Sat Advaitam Brahma. But where is our attention now? It's on Asat. It's on this world of matter. And so he is going to take us from the world of matter to that pure self. And how does he do that? So first, he starts with all the different qualities, right? So now in verse 2, he says, Shabda Sparsho Rupa Raso Gandho Bhuta Guna Ime. These are the 5 properties. So we have sound, touch, form, taste, smell, etc. And then he says that each of these properties belongs to one element. And therefore, there are 5 elements. And as the 5 elements go from subtle to gross, they have more and more properties. So this is what is seen in the following verses. So verses 3 to 6 really was expounding on that. And I'm going to just show you the slide here so that you can see what exactly he meant, and then we will move on to the next verses, right? Okay, so here is what we saw last week. We saw that there are 5 elements and they do have certain qualities. Space with 1 quality, air with 2, fire 3, water 4, earth 5 qualities, right? This is smell. And what happens is it has its own quality and the quality of its cause. So air has its own quality, which is touch, but also the quality of its cause. So you'll find that it increases. And also we find that the sound, the variations of sound are different for each element. The variations for touch are different. Form are also different, and taste are also different. So in this way, he goes from that properties to the elements. So now he's going to go to, well, what exactly perceives this world of elements? What perceives this world of matter? So now it is the faculties of perception, faculties of knowledge. So let's go to verse number 6. Normally we do chant the verses that we've covered before, but being these are about the indriyas, etc., I think we won't do those twice, but later on when the verses get a little bit more in depth, we will do that, okay? So I will chant verse 6, and then Nina Mamiji, if you can repeat after me, yeah? Surabhi tarangadhau dvau, Surabhi tarangadhau dvau.
Can I have the I cannot see the
translation.
verse. Yeah,
Okay.
Can you share it, please?
It's in the drive. Here, I can share it if you want. Makes it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm trying with a new tablet and I'm a little confused. I'm not able to get there. Okay.
Now, I hope you can see. Is it big
Yeah,
enough?
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
I'll chant again.
Yeah.
Surabhi tarangadhau dvau.
Surabhi tarangadhau dvau.
Guna samyak vivechitaha.
Guna samyak vivechitaha.
Shrotram tvakchakshushi.
Shrotram tvakchakshushi.
Jivva ghranam chendriya panchakam.
Jihva ghranam chendriya panchakam.
Okay, we'll chant that together. Surabhi tarangadau dvau guna samyak vivechitaha shrotram tvakchakshushi jivva ghranam chendriya panchakam. Okay, I'll stop share now. So those of you, let me just put that link again in chat so I can make sure that everybody is able to open the transliteration. Okay, so the first part of verse 6 we saw last week, where Surabhi tarangandau dvau. The earth, it emits smells which are both pleasant and unpleasant, right? So Surabhi, pleasant, itara. Itara means unpleasant, the other one. These are the smells of earth. And this we've already done the viveka. So from 2 verse 2 to 6a is all the qualities and the elements. Now from verse 6 to 9 is going to be these faculties of perception. And so there are 5 senses. We call them senses, but they're really these faculties. And we will see, when we go further, why. Shrotram. Shrotram is not here when we talk about Shrotram, means we talk about the faculty of hearing. So we're now in the subtle body. So really it's the faculty of hearing. Twak, really it's the faculty of touching. Chakshushi, it's the faculty of seeing. Jivva, the faculty of tasting. And granam, the faculty of smelling. So this word indriya, cha indriya, indriya means these subtle faculties which we cannot see. And there are 5 of them, right? So these are the 5 subtle faculties. Now, how do these faculties function? And that we will see now in verse 7. I'll go ahead and share this again. You can see verse 7. Karnadi golakastham tata. Meenaji, are you there?
Yeah. Karnadi golakastham tat.
Shabdadi grahakam kramat.
Shabdadi grahakam kramat.
Sokshmyat karyanumeyam tata.
Sauksmyat karyanumeyam tat.
Prayo dhavet bahirmukham.
Prayo dhavet bahirmukham.
Karnadi golakastham tata shabdadi grahakam krama. Sokshmyat karyanumeyam tata prayo dhavet bahirmukham. Okay. It's hard to read in English, no? So, what is it saying here? Karnadi golakastham. So, these 5 faculties are established or they function through golakas. Golakas means apertures. They function through apertures. Karnadi. Karna means the ear. So, the faculty of hearing, which is subtle, functions through the ear, which is gross. Then the faculty of touching, which is subtle, functions through the skin. Then the faculty of seeing, which is subtle, functions through the eye, which is gross. The faculty of tasting, which is subtle, functions through the tongue, which is gross. And the faculty of smelling, which is subtle, functions through the nose, which is gross. So these are what you call golakas or apertures. So karnadi golakastham means that which is established in an aperture. That is what is called that faculty of seeing. That's what we call sense organs. So these are what they are. And shabdadi grahakam kraman means they all have their fields. They all have their respective fields. So now again, I'm going to just show you in a slide so you can see what their fields are. Because here it says that they have shabdadi, means sound, etc. as their field in sequence. So what does this sequence mean? The sequence means this. Okay, sequence means this, right? So here we have what you call the indriya or the faculty. So shrotram or the faculty, it functions through what? Where does it stay? It stays in the ear, and what does it do? It perceives sound. So you see, everything is just totally related, okay? So now I'm gonna go from here. Sound is the property of space. This is how we started. Now, that space creates this faculty, this auditory faculty, which stays in the ear, which perceives sound. So it perceives its very property. The property touch is a property of air. From air comes the sensory faculty, or to touch, that resides in the skin, and therefore the skin perceives touch. Form or color is the property of fire. And from fire comes that faculty of seeing, right? And therefore that resides in the eyes, and the eyes perceive form and color. Then taste is a property of water, and from water comes that faculty of tasting, or gustatory faculty, which resides in the tongue. And so the tongue perceives taste. And then the property of earth, smell is the property of earth. And then from that earth comes the olfactory faculty, which resides in the nose, which then perceives smell, right? So all of this is very, very, very logical, that when we see in our Upanishads, like Taittiriya Upanishad and so forth, that from all of that, from Brahman with Maya comes all of these elements, and from all of these elements come all of these various faculties. So this is how they come about. So that is what the first line of this word, this verse means. Karnadi golakastham, established in those golakas or apertures. That Shabdadigrahakam, they have their own various fields, and krama in their respective order. Now, sokshmyat. Sokshmyat means now we're in the subtle level. So we cannot perceive these. They're not manifest. They are subtle. They are beyond the ken of our senses. Because obviously they are the faculties behind these apertures. And how do we know them? Karyanumeya means through inferring, through positing, we understand that faculty of seeing lies in the eyes. We understand. And it's also our experience. It's also a direct experience. Prayaha, tat prayaha here means mostly, dhavad bahir mukham. Mostly they run outside. So the five senses successively function through the external apparatus, the gross organs, the ears, the skin, the eyes, the tongue, and the nose. The senses are subtle. Their presence is to be inferred from their functions, and they often move outwards. So what does this mean? It means that in Kathopanishad, it also says this, that our senses are actually made to go out. They are what you call bahirmukha. Bahirmukha means they're always looking out. So the eyes are going out. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, etc., a taste, a touch, it's always going out. Our senses are made to go out. But it says prayaha. Prayaha means naturally, yes, they may be naturally made to go out, but sometimes they also turn inward. So this is not an excuse that, oh, our senses are made that way. They are always outgoing and that's the way they're made. But there are some ways that they turn inside. First, I'll give you the deeper meaning and then we will go to this, what it says here. The deeper meaning in Kathopanishad, it says, Kaschit dhiraha. Kaschit dhiraha means the one who has the ability to dwell on the subtleties of life. Pratyagatmanam ekshat is the one who's able to see inside. The one who's able to dwell on the subtleties. Just imagine we're walking outside and we're going outside. It's so easy to see the car. It's so easy to see the trees and the leaves. It's so easy to see the rock and the sun. But how many are able to dwell on the subtlety of how do things move and how do things function? How is there such a unity in this cosmic life? One who has that ability to go to a deeper level, that's called dhiraha. That dhiraha can actually turn inward. That's the deeper meaning. Now here, of course, Swami Vidyaranya is so amazing that here he's going to explain the word prayaha. He said, I said that they mostly turn outward. There are times when they turn inward too. There are times when they turn inward too. And so he's actually going to show us actual illustrations wherein our senses turn inward. And this is just because this is Swami Vidyaranya. He explains everything to the T. Okay, so now these verses I will chant and then I will also repeat because they're tongue twisters. Even for me, they're tongue twisters. So let me share my screen and we'll look at the verses. Okay. All right. So we are now on verse 8. Kadachit vihite karane, kadachit vihite karane, shruyate shabda antaraha, shruyate shabda antaraha, pranavayo jatharagno, pranavayo jatharagno, jalapanena bhakshane, jalapanena bhakshane. And we'll also read 9. Vyajyante hyantara sparsha. Vyajyante hyantara sparsha. Nilane chantaram tamaha. Nilane chantaram tamaha. Udgare rasagandho cheti. Udgare rasagandho cheti. Akshanamantaragраha. Akshanamantaragраha. We'll chant 8 and 9. Kadachit vihite karne shruyate shabda antaraha. Pranavayo jaఠaragno jalapanena bhakshane. Vyajyante hyantara sparsha. Nilane chantaram tamaha. Udgare rasagandho chetyakshanamantaragraha. Okay. In these verses, there's, these sandhis that are, they just come in the middle. So that's why I thought we better if I chant it. So verse 8, now he's saying, when is it that the senses turn inward? Kadachit, sometimes. Apihite karne, sometimes when our ears, karne, 2 ears are apihite, are closed. Shruyate shabda antara. Shabda antara, inside sounds are heard. How, what are they? Pranavayo. Pranavayo here means our inward and outgoing breaths. So sometimes when we close our ears, we hear our breath. Sometimes when we shut everything out, that's actually when we can really hear our breath. Jaఠaragno. Jaఠaragno means that the sounds in the stomach. So sometimes also when we close our ears, we can hear things in our stomach. We can hear the movement. And sometimes we can even hear our own heartbeat. So when our ears are closed to the world and we just turn inward, we can hear actually all kinds of sounds in our body, which we otherwise really don't hear. So this is a time when the ears turn inward, or rather the faculty of hearing turns inward. Jalapanena abhakshane. Then in here now we're going into the faculty of touching, right? So jalapane means in drinking. Jala, in drinking water. Anabhakshane, when food is swallowed, then you take verse 9 also. Vyajyante hyantara sparsha. Hyantara means the inner sparsha, the inner touch is vyajyante, is experienced when we drink a liquid, water, whatever, and we eat food. So when we drink and we eat, we feel sometimes, especially when we eat something hot, spicy, we feel our stomach burning. We feel that sensation, right? And when we have something cold, we feel that inside and even in our throat. And sometimes we even feel the water. When we eat a lot, we have this expression, I ate until here. I can't eat anymore, right? So this is antara sparsha. We feel these things inside. This is when our touch goes inside. And these are actually very beautiful mindfulness exercises to feel the touches, the sounds inside, which we otherwise don't do because our senses are so outgoing. Then Milane Chantaram Tamha. Milan means closing the eyes. Antaram Tamaha. We actually see inside. Antaram Tamaha. The darkness inside. So everyone for a moment, close your eyes. And you actually see darkness, right? Well, I'm not talking about what your mind is imagining or all of that, but just close your eyes for a moment and you'll just see darkness. That's the inner sight, which we don't see very often. And when we actually have the ability to do that, we can take ourselves to the observer very quickly, if we have the ability to do that. Then, udgare rasagandho. So then to our left, the faculty of smelling, the faculty of taste and smelling. So he says, belching, when we belch, when we belch, when we burp, then there's the sense of inner smell and inner taste, right? We burp something we ate, that we can actually taste that inside. We can smell it too. And so he says, Cheti akshanam antara graha. Akshanam means these sense organs. Antara graha. These are the internal cognitions of these sense organs, or what we call faculties. So yes, they are outgoing, but at some point in time, they are also inward going in these aspects. So we're not a hopeless case. We can very easily turn the senses within. So sometimes it says we hear sounds made by our ingoing and outgoing breaths. We hear buzzing sound when our ears are stopped. We feel an internal sensation of hot and cold when food and water are swallowed. When our eyes are closed, we see inside the absence of light. And in belching, we experience taste and odor. Thus, the sense organs give rise to experience things within the physical body. Now, he's going to talk about, so now we've finished the faculties of perception, faculties of knowledge, jnanendriyas. Now he's going to go into the faculties of action. So from 6b to 9, jnanendriyas. From 10 to 11, karmendriyas, or the faculties of action. So we'll read 10 and 11. We'll take these two verses together. Here we go. Okay. Panchoktya dana gamana. Panchoktya dana gamana. Visarganandakah kriyaha. Visarganandakah kriyaha. Krishivanijyasevadyaha. Krishivanijyasevadyaha. Panchasvantarbhavantihi. Panchasvantarbhavantihi. Vakpanipadapāyu. Upasthairakshaistatkriya-janihi. Mukhādigolakeshvaste tatkarmendriya panchakam. Mukhādigolakeshvaste tatkarmendriya panchakam. We'll read together. Okay. Panchoktya dana gamana. Visarganandakah kriyaha. Krishivanijyasevadyaha. Panchasvantarbhavantihi. Vakpanipadapāyupasthairakshaistatkriya-janihi. Mukhādigolakeshvaste tatkarmendriya panchakam. I know some of you here studying Sanskrit, whoever's studying Sanskrit, you'll have a blast going through these verses because there's so many sandhis, right? Okay, so verse 10. Pancha ukti, right? Pancha. So now 5 faculties of action. Pancha. Ukti. Ukti means speech. Ukti. Adana means grasping. Faculty of grasping, or these are just actually the functions. So speech is a function, grasping is a function, then adana gamana, then movement is a function, visarga, excretion is a function, Anandakaha. Anandakaha is enjoyment of sexual intercourse. Ananda. That's also a field. Kriyaha. These are the functions, right? And Krishi, what are, if you say, okay, these are the functions of the faculties of action, what about things like Krishi, farming, Vanijya? Vanijya means commerce. Sevadhyaha means service. What about all of them? Panchasu antarbhavantihi means they are taken inside all of these. So these are all the fields of action. Now, what are the indriyas? The indriyas, the actual faculties in verse 11, vak, faculty of speech, pani, faculty of grasping, pada, faculty of locomotion, payu, faculty of excretion, upastha, faculty of enjoyment. All of these, akshehi takriya janihi, means by these indriyas, kriya janihi, actions are performed. So upastehi, akshehi, by all of these, kriyas are performed. And their golakas, their actual apertures are mukhadi, means the mouth, etc. And I have a chart, so I'll show you. Mukhadi golakeshwaste. They reside in golakas, in these apertures. Tat karmendriya panchakam. And so these are the 5 faculties of action. So I'll just show you in a slide and then it will become very clear. Okay, go. So now here, verses 10, 11. So again, we make the connection with these elements. The faculty of action is speech, right? The first faculty of action is speech, right? And speech resides in the mouth and the function is speaking. Air. Air, the connected through air is pani, the faculty of grasping, and that resides in the hands and the function is grasping. Then we have pada, the faculty of locomotion. It resides in the feet and the function is moving. Then we have the faculty of excretion, resides in the anus and its function is excreting. Then we have the faculty of enjoyment and it stays in the genitals and its function is experiencing pleasure. So in this way, these are the faculties of action. Indriya, panchaka. Here, karmendriya, panchaka. And so our whole world, why is he actually explaining all of this, right? He's explaining all of this because the whole world is just perception, action, perception, action. We gain things through our faculties of knowledge, through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, etc. And then we act through grasping, through moving, through speech. So we're just gaining knowledge and we're acting. We're gaining knowledge and we're acting. So he's making it very clear how we're functioning in the world. And he's further going to lead us into a very, very important revelation, which we already know, but until and unless we do it step by step, we don't distance ourselves from it. He's going to come to a point in verse number 18 where he's going to say, this is all idam. These are all objects of consciousness. Elements are objects of consciousness. These faculties of seeing, etc., objects of consciousness. Faculties of action are objects of consciousness. And even the mind is an object of consciousness. So this exercise, when we do it, don't just think about it as this whole thorough analysis, but it's also trying to create distance from this. Create distance from these organs, create distance from your mind, and understand that you're different from that. The fact that we're examining all of these so thoroughly means we're different from it. We're apart from it. So see, when we study, see these things as an object. See your own mind as an object. And when you and I are able to see our mind as an object, that is a great, great state to be in. So now we come to the mind. So again, now he's coming closer. Properties of elements, faculties, and now he comes to the mind. He's coming closer and closer. And he's saying, see all of these objects. These are all idam. See these objects. So let us now see this object, which is the mind. Okay? All right. So let us see this verse. Okay. Go. Verse number 12. मनोदशेन्द्रियाध्यक्षं हृत्पद्मे गोलके स्थितं तच्चान्तःकरणं बाह्येषु अस्वातन्त्र्याद्विनेन्द्रियैः मनोदशेन्द्रियाध्यक्षं हृत्पद्मे गोलके स्थितं तच्चान्तःकरणं बाह्येष्वस्वातन्त्र्याद्विनेन्द्रियैः. Okay, what is he saying here? Manaha. Now we come to the mind. Mind, manaha, dashendriya adhyaksham. It commands dashendriya, the 10 indriyas, which we just saw, the faculties of perception, the faculties of action. Ritpadme golake sthitam. Ritpadme means the lotus of the heart is its golaka, is its seat. Tachantakaranam, and this antakaranam is called anta, inside, because bahyeshu, amongst all the objects, outside objects, aswatantriya, it's not independent, vina indriyehi, without the indriyas. Okay, let's read this and then I will explain step by step. The mind, the ruler of the 10 organs of sense and action, is situated within the lotus of the heart, as it depends on the organs of sense and action for its functions in relation to external objects. It is called an internal organ. Lots of things about the mind. So first, what is this mind? Mananatmakam manaha, that which constantly reflects, thinks. It's the faculty of thought. How do we know that there is something called mind? How do we know? Because each faculty, sense faculty, has its own field. Eyes, faculty of seeing, can only see. Faculty of hearing can only hear. So they can only do their own respective things, but I know that there's something that collates all of this. So what is that something? It cannot be any of these 10 faculties. It has to be something else. And that something else is called the mind. Why cannot it be the self? Because the self has no qualities. It's nirguna, whereas the mind, which we will see, has qualities, the 3 gunas. So therefore, there is something there called mind. But what is this mind? This mind is not the brain. This mind is a subtle organ. Dashendriyadhyaksham means it's the one that commands and rules over these 10 indriyas, and it is seated in the heart. It's golaka, its seat is in the heart. So whenever we say, in Zoom, sometimes we'll say, I can't hear, right? So the golaka for hearing is in the ears. Or sometimes we'll say, I can't see. The golaka for seeing is in the eyes. But when we talk about our feelings and thoughts and our personality, we always do this, right? Even the word I, we do this. So where is the mind seated? It's seated in the heart. It's seated right here in the heart. And that's why sometimes when we read these books, those who studied Upadesha Sara, let's say Hritsthale Mana, right? When the mind is in the heart, rests in the heart, and that is the absorption in the self, swastatha kriya, right? So though the mind rests in the heart, its office, how our Swamiji puts it, it's very nice. The heart, the home is the heart, but the office is in the brain. So the mind functions also through the brain. So brain is the gross aperture and the mind functions through it. So here, Rit Padme Golake Sthitam. This is made very, very clear. That's why all of the heart diseases and all of that, it's all starts in your mind only. All diseases start in the mind, but all this heart problem, this problem, that problem, it starts in the mind. The mind is actually everywhere in the body, but its golaka is right here. Then this mind is called antahkarana. Antahkarana, right? Karana, because it's an instrument, it's a faculty. Anta, why is it anta, inside? The other 10 faculties of perception and action are called bahishkarana, outer instruments. The mind is antahkarana. Why? Because here it says that it actually depends on the faculties of seeing, hearing, smelling, etc. to perceive the world, to experience the world. So because it's inner because it depends on these senses, etc., to perceive the world, to experience the world. It depends on the faculties of action to respond to the world. It cannot do it otherwise. So because it is dependent on them, that's why it's called inner, anta. So the word karana is because it's an instrument, and anta because it depends on them. Aswatantriyad vina indriye. Yeah. Now, what is the speciality of the mind? What is the speciality of this mind? What does it busy itself with? What is this mind doing all the time? So we will see now verse number 13. Okay. Right. Aksheshwartharpiteshvetat. Aksheshwartharpiteshvetat. Guna-dosha vicharakam. Guna-dosha vicharakam. Sattvam rajastamascha. Sattvam rajastamascha. Guna vikriyate hitaihi. Guna vikriyate hitaihi. Aksheshwartharpiteshvetat. Guna-dosha vicharakam. Sattvam rajastamascha. Guna vikriyate hitaihi. Okay. So, like I said, lots of tongue twisters in this Panchadashi chapter. Very good exercise for those who are studying Sanskrit. What does it say? Aksheshu. Aksheshu means the indriyas. In the indriyas, artharpiteshu. Artharpiteshu. Those that are engaged in their respective objects, right? Artha means objects. Arpita means offered to the objects. But here, engaged in the objects. So, aksheshu, artharpiteshu, etat. So this mind that is engaged in all of this, engaged in these objects, guna dosha vicharakam, it inquires into guna and dosha. Guna means merits the good. Dosha means demerits. So the mind inquires into the merits and demerits of the objects which are perceived by the senses. Artheshu, aksheshu, artharpiteshu. And what else? Sattva, rajas, tamah. Sattva, rajas, tamas, cha asya gunaha are its three gunas. Asya means of the mind. Of the mind, it's three gunas. Vikriyate hitehi. And through them, the mind goes through modifications. So, what does the mind do? It constantly thinks about the good and the bad of something. So our mind, you take an object, any object, a bottle, automatically it will think, is good, is it bad? And sometimes also indifferent. These three will also come in Panchadashi chapter 4. The mind will constantly judge, will classify, will say, this is good for me, this is not good for me. This I like, this I don't like. It will constantly move from place to place, here and there. And that's what the mind does. It swings. But the very antarmukha mind, the one that's really, really turned within, just revels in the self. The outward mind, this is all it does. It functions. It's like a pendulum. It swings. This is good for me. This is not good for me. Go towards this, go away from this. I like this, I don't like this. It just keeps functioning like this. So it does the vichara of guna in dosha. The mind that's turned inward, which is blessed, is the one that does vichara on the nirguna, no gunas. And of course, we know that the mind's constituents are sattva, rajas, and tamas. And the mind constantly operates. It's constantly dominated by either sattva, rajas, and tamas. What is sattva, rajas, tamas? That we will see in our next class, so that we can take those topics up together, sattva, rajas, tamas. So the flow of thought now from here will go to sattva, rajas, tamas, and then he will say that all of these are objects, and therefore they're called idam. They're objects of experience, so don't even think about them. Don't even think about them. Now come to that reality which illumines all of it. This is the thought flow of Swami Vidyaranyaji. But again, remember, the purpose for doing all of this analysis is so you and I can keep seeing it as an object and seeing all of this as an object. The end of this chapter concludes with the ability to see this world as absolutely false. That's what this will come to. So step by step, with utmost clarity, he will take us to this journey. Okay? All right, good. So I will pause here for now, and then